Hello, I'm Nikki.
And I'm Jess.
She's the traumatized.
And she's the abandoned.
And welcome to our podcast, where we talk about true crime, spooky things, and everything in between.
And today we're talking about true crime. Back at the top. Top rotation. It's not the top rotation.
It's not. It's not. It's like the middle rotation.
We're back in the middle.
Back in the middle.
We're nice and nestled in the middle of our rotation
nestled.
topics. Yep. Anyway, how was your week?
It was pretty good. I had some VA appointments that I went to, so I had a little bit of anxiety through the week because I just don't like driving to new places without knowing where they are and, all that other stuff. But made it there perfectly fine, and everything's looking good. Got the referrals I needed, so I should be getting calls to set up appointments. And then yesterday we kind of just had like a family day. We went out to the store, had some lunch, went to a playground for a little bit.
Love that.
And then we got home and we installed a new ceiling fan in my room.
Fancy.
Right? My husband is colorblind, so I had to memorize which wires went to which.
Oh, that's funny.
But I love it. It's quiet. Like,
that's
I don't
so important.
I don't remember if you being here, if you like turn on the ceiling fan, you could hear it really badly.
I don't know necessarily remember hearing your ceiling fan, but I trust you.
It was so loud.
It looks so pretty,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's silent. I can have the fan on at night, and there's no motor sound.
One of these things about you're getting older when you get really excited for a ceiling fan that's quiet. But no, I totally get that. That sounds amazing.
And I mean, it's like brighter now too, so it's like, I don't know, it needed a change.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, that's always good though. And I feel like when you make that, even though it might not have been like a huge change, it does so much. Like it really does like affect everything. I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, eventually we want to paint, because our house, I don't know if you guys, it looks tan on my camera.
Almost like yellowish. Yeah.
It's pink. It is like a pink salmon color, and it's all over our house. It is, Jess can tell you, it is everywhere. So that's one thing we want to get rid of. So room by room, we're gonna get rid of this awful pink color.
Oh my god, I love that though. That's gonna be so exciting for you guys.
Yeah,
it's another version of nesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your week?
Every time, guys, here's the thing. In a couple
every
months,
time in 2023, I've been scared to ask you how your week is, because I know it hasn't been good.
You know what happened during my week, because you're my best friend, so you know. I swear, in a couple months, guys, we're gonna turn this year around, and it's gonna be great, and we're gonna be thriving. But no, I mean, yeah. So. I don't even know if I said it. I'm getting divorced. I'm saying it.
You're saying it now.
Okay.
This is your time. Is this the time? Is it?
Yes.
Are we saying it now? Okay.
Yes, because I think it's not the worst thing that's happened this week. So I'm getting divorced. It's not funny. I'm getting divorced. I'm moving back to my home at the end of the month. I'm just packing, and then my grandmother passed away last week. So it's 2023 could suck something hard,
right?
So yeah, it's been rough. It's my first grandparent that I've ever lost, and it was really sudden, so there wasn't like a whole lot of time, and it was in Virginia, so I wasn't able to go down.
Yeah, I'm sad that you weren't able to go, because I at least got to go say goodbye to my grandpa when he passed. You didn't get that chance.
Yeah, I mean, hindsight, my mom called me, like, I think I spoke and I actually was able to speak to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually one of the last people to speak to her because then she got really sick and just was too weak to talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually one of the last people to speak to her. I mean, I was on the phone, but it was something.
Right.
And she remembered who I was. And like I think that was like Thursday, and she ended up passing away on Monday. Like it was fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she didn't sound. It was Friday. I don't remember. They all the days are mixing together.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really fast. She had battled with cancer and beat cancer, but I think the chemo just was too much for her. So it's tough. I may act like I'm holding it together, but I'm not, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've discussed this before. We laugh when we're uncomfortable or just kind of laughing through the pain. That's what I'm doing because I did my makeup and I don't want to cry. So
Right. A lot of life changes happening.
Oh my God.
So
Like,
it's a lot. And for like future reference in a couple of future videos, it might just be me for a little bit, but hang in there. We'll hang in
I'll
there.
be back. I'll be back as soon as I can. Yeah, the idea is that I'm gonna move, and the memorial service is the same weekend I'm moving, which on one hand is nightmarish, but on the other hand, it'll be good. It'll be good. That's bad. It'll be. I don't know. It'll be there.
It'll go quickly.
That's
for sure.
Yeah. That weekend's gonna be But then after that, I'm gonna get settled. I'm gonna, I have plans to actually get like an office space set up in the middle of the year and all good things. So it might be a little, like you said, it might be her for a week or two. I'll try to get back as soon as I can, but I'll be there in the shadows. And then it's gonna be weird for a little bit because I'm not gonna be here, obviously. I'll be like a temporary spot and then July I'm moving into like a permanent space, and it's actually gonna have an office. I'm gonna be at a desk with like things in the background. Guys, it's gonna be great. So
it's
just
be
hang
amazing.
in there. Be an adult and actually have like a desk. But yeah, that's my week/year so far. It's been a crazy one. Like I thought the divorce and moving was rough, and then it's just this. So. But you know what?
Things always come in 3. I always say
keep
that.
saying that because there's not a third thing yet. So can we stop?
Your grandma passed.
What's
divorce,
that's the
moving, grandma.
Okay.
All at the same time.
Okay. That's the third. Okay.
That's the third.
I was kind of lumping the move and the divorce together, but you're right. That's 2 different things that are difficult.
There's very different emotions involved in both of
very
those.
True. Actually, very true. Like, I am both very excited to move, but also it's really hard. And I've been packing. That's what sucks. I mean, everything. That's not the only thing that sucks. But like, I was like, I'm gonna start packing. And I kept putting it off, and now it's like, oh, now I'm like grieving and packing. So it's very, very challenging. Yeah, just I thought I guess I didn't mention it before, but I mentioned I was going through stuff. But yeah, that won't. Just heads up, I won't be here. Not next week.
At least for one episode.
Yeah, and next week we'll be here, but then it'll be like the week after, and then maybe the week after that. I'm hoping I can get my shit together before then. But
yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, that's
that's
like, if you guys have been watching the past episodes and you see like Nikki hesitate when asking me how my week's been, that's like the last couple weeks have just been like,
it's been a rough 2023.
Really has. But all good things are coming. Good things are coming. You have a rough beginning of a year, then it's gonna turn around and it's gonna be great. And I got good plans coming up. So I'm just gonna keep pushing through. That's what we're gonna do. Want to hear the fun fact
I do.
of today?
I do.
So, this fucking Jesus, Jess. Did you know when a person cries, the first drop of tears, if they come from the right eye, it's happy tears. If they come from the left eye, it's sad tears.
Oh, no, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Right? So, like, if you ever have a good cry, just if you feel him coming on, like,
if you're confused about your feelings and you're crying,
your tears will tell you whichever eye it comes out the first one. That could happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
It's probably
If you ever
happened to me before.
Feel like, wait, am I happy or sad right now?
Can't tell.
Both. What if they come out at the exact same time?
Mm.
It is a both situation. I don't know.
Mm.
Anyway, what is your topic today?
So I actually changed my topic.
Okay.
Because
I'm ready.
I'm familiar with this one more than I am the other one. And this one I was able to write in under an hour last night around 10 o'clock. So last minute.
You know what? Some of those are the best. I actually haven't read through mine since I typed it. So you guys just buckle up now. It's gonna be great.
We'll buckle up together. Okay. So I don't even know how to start this off.
I'll just dive right in.
Just dive right into the story, not even
Let's do it.
preface you guys with anything.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, let's go. For most people, on July 26, 2009, it was just another normal Sunday. But for people traveling on the Taconic Parkway near Mount Pleasant, New York, the Sunday afternoon became quite scary.
Is it weird when you said that date? I was like, oh my God, I just graduated high school.
You graduated in July? Or
I mean, I
like
graduated in June
mid-
2009.
Okay.
But I was fresh out of I was fresh out of high school.
And now I'm gonna play an audio from that day.
Bay Police, you got on northbound Taconic. There's a minivan in the right lane going southbound.
911.
That's Taconic?
Taconic Parkway. We just passed
Is this New York?
100, exit 100 feet. There's a car going like 7
I've
miles
driven
an
on
hour
this.
the wrong direction. State Police 911.
Yeah, you
What?
got a guy driving south on a northbound Taconic Parkway. Ooh, right on. I was in the left lane. Just Pleasantville Road. He's going like about out of hell. He should be already on the same parkway right now.
It was very surreal seeing it coming at you. So what you had to do was, thank God there was nobody on the side. I was able to go over a couple of lanes as the van came by me. And I said at the time 70 miles an hour because it was speeding right by. Dead pin straight, pin straight. Wasn't doing this, was dead pin straight.
My heart was going about 200, beats a minute. And, just to react quickly, get out of the way. And then the car went past us.
We saw something coming at us. We reacted.
That's
we
terrifying.
moved. She had no reaction at all. She didn't stop. She didn't slow down. She didn't move.
That's insane. That actually happened at one point. The car was not moving, but it was it was funny. We were just talking about this. It was a snowstorm and the car had been hit and flipped, but we were driving and we saw headlights facing us in our lane. And I was like, is the most terrifying. I can't imagine driving towards you.
Right?
Holy shit. Yeah.
So at about 1:30 p.m. that Sunday, 36-year-old Dian Schuler traveled 1.7 miles in the wrong direction on the parkway.
What?
And collided head-on with an SUV. But before we get to that, we're going to back up a little bit to the morning of.
Okay. All right. Imlan, Shyamalan, whatever. Fucking showing me the ending first and then going back through it. Listen.
For a couple of families, it was just another fun weekend spent camping. Warren and Jackie Hance had 3 beautiful girls, Allison, Kate, and Emma. And for the weekend, the 3 girls were spending it with their Aunt Diane and Uncle Danny Schuler and their 2 kids, Brian and Aaron. That Sunday morning, around 9:30 a.m., Diane and Danny left the Hunter Lake campground in Parksville, New York, where the family kept their camping trailer. So it said that they left at the same time. Danny took the dog and the camper in his pickup. And left, and then Diane left shortly afterwards in a red 2003 Ford Windstar, which is a minivan that she had to borrow from her brother so that they could carry all the kids.
Okay.
So in the van with her were the children, her own, Brian, who was 5, and Aaron, who was 2, and her nieces, Emma, who was 8, Allison 7, and Kate was 5.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, her husband Daniel left the campground at the same time in his pickup truck, the family dog. But at 9:56 a.m., Diane stopped at a McDonald's in Liberty, New York to get breakfast for the children, basically,
Okay.
while
Okay.
Daniel continued home. Video from
Mhm.
security cameras showed the children eating and then playing inside the play area, everything seeming normal.
Okay.
They left the McDonald's at 10:33 a.m. and at 10:46 a.m., Diane stopped at a gas station. She went inside and apparently asked for pain pills, which they did not carry or they were out of at the time. And so she went back out to the minivan, like literally walked in, asked, walked back out.
Okay. They didn't carry painkillers, as I feel like gas stations usually do, don't they?
Right. Or they were possibly out of
Out
the
of 'em.
specific
Okay.
ones that she wanted.
Right. Because I was like, I think I would, yeah, that's something I would go in and ask for. But anyway.
So she went inside, asked, they didn't have any. She walked back to the minivan. Normal. Nothing seemed wrong with her. From all of her interactions from the campground to the gas station, no one noticed anything odd about Diane's behavior. So, like, the people at McDonald's didn't notice anything strange. She wasn't acting weird. The gas station
Yeah.
people, she seemed completely normal. Nothing strange was going on.
Okay.
At 10:58 a.m., Diane pulled out of the gas station and headed south on Route 17, going toward Long Island, which is where they lived. I
Okay.
don't know if I mentioned that before.
Mhm.
By this time, Danny had already arrived home and went to sleep because he had to work a night shift that night. So he wanted to get a little bit of sleep before he had to go in.
Fair.
At 11:37 a.m., Emma Hance, so the oldest of the nieces, called her dad from Diane's phone and told him that they might be late. Warren then spoke to Diane, who confirmed that they may be late due to traffic or what have you. And at that time, Diane sounded perfectly normal on the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Between 11:30 a.m. and 12 p.m., witnesses saw the red minivan being driven aggressively on Route 17 in Orange County and also on the interstate, including aggressively tailgating, flashing headlights, honking the horn, moving in and out of lanes, and straddling 2 lanes. According to a police report, Diane was seen by witnesses at approximately 11:45 a.m. by the side of the road with her hands on her knees as if vomiting. She was seen again in the same position a short time later north of Ramaphosaburg rest stop.
I have no idea.
Ramaphosaburg rest stop.
Sloatsburg? Okay.
It was actually said witnesses were driving and the van tried passing them on the shoulder but failed to do so. And then so they pulled off to the rest area and Diane followed them, or the red minivan followed them. But instead of going down the car lane like the witnesses had, the minivan pulled to the truck lane. And those were the witnesses that saw the driver get out of the car again and look like they were throwing up.
What the fuck? Was she having a panic attack maybe? And like breathing? I don't know. What in the world?
At 12:55 p.m., a wrong number was dialed from Diane's phone. The call lasted 17 seconds. 3 minutes later, Diane called Jackie, who was the aunt or the mother of the 3 nieces,
Right.
and she sounded out of it. They were on the call for about 2.5 minutes when the call dropped or Diane ended the call. At 1:01 p.m., Warren, the father of the 3 daughters or whatever, walked into the house just as the call between Diane and Jackie ended. He then called his sister back and they spoke for 8 minutes. While on the phone with Warren, Diane went through the Tappanese toll.
Yep. Tappanese Bridge.
At 1:02 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So during this call is when Diane pulled the car over in a little area just after the toll. And Emma reportedly told her father that Diane was having some trouble seeing and speaking clearly. Diane herself then talked to him and said that she was disoriented and could not see clearly.
Mm.
And Warren could also hear the kids crying in the background. So Warren reportedly told Diane to stay off the road, stay where you are. And he asked his daughter, like, what do you see? And she said, you know, I see this sign. And so he's like, okay. He rushed out the door to go find them, basically. He would continue to call Diane's phone, but all the calls would go unanswered.
Oh my God.
At this point, she had left her phone along the highway, and it was found by another motorist by the side of the road near the toll booths.
Oh my God. What the fudge?
Right? Are you practicing not swearing?
Yes. But honestly, like, what the fuck?
Right?
What the fuck?
So the Hanses were under the impression at this time that Diane was having a medical emergency and she needed help. So they started contacting the police, trying to locate her. For whatever reason, unfortunately, Diane did not stay put. And shortly after 1:30 p.m., Dian Schuler made a right turn from Pleasantville Road onto the exit ramp for the Taconic State Parkway. She drove the wrong way, south into northbound traffic at over 75 miles an hour. Mind you, the parkway was only listed at 55 miles per hour and continued for 1.7 miles. Over a dozen drivers were forced to move out of her way or be hit. And at 1:35 p.m., the inevitable happened. Diane drove head-on into an SUV that was carrying Michael Bastardi, 81, his son Guy Bastardi, 49, and their friend Daniel Longo, 74. The three men were headed to a family member's home for a pasta dinner, but tragically, they never made it. All three were killed immediately in the crash.
Damn.
Another vehicle was also hit, but the occupants of that vehicle were miraculously unharmed. And I have a little demonstration video.
All right.
Sorry.
Listen. Oh, so vehicle 3 struck vehicle 2. Got it.
Yeah, so it was basically like a I'll play it again. So this is the minivan. It gets thrown into the middle median, and then the vehicle, like basically vehicle 3 couldn't stop in time for the
Fucking crazy.
Two men who witnessed the crash saw smoke rising out of the van and ran to assist the occupants. I have one more video.
What road are we on?
What mile mark are you at?
What road are we on? What road is this? Pleasant Road.
What? Hold on, stop yelling. Listen, I'm an Elk City, New York City police officer.
Okay, are you out at the scene right now?
Yes, I'm at the scene.
Okay, are there any injuries?
We have fatalities.
Fatality at the scene?
We have
Okay, stay on the phone with me. I'm going to give you EMS, okay? Hold on.
Fuck it. Say an ambulance too. We have a possible car fire. Car may blow up as well.
Holy hell. Why? What happened? I don't understand.
So after removing Diane, so the two men that saw the crash went to go to the burning van.
Right.
After removing Diane from the van, the men tried to pull the girls out of the van and noticed that they had no pulse. Because the children had come to rest in a pile together, the men did not notice Schuler's son Brian lodged underneath another child. So basically, from the sounds of it, the kids were not buckled up at all or in any kind of car seats. They were just kind of like free about the van.
What? I don't. Why?
Brian was the only survivor of the like crash, minus like the two people who were in the third vehicle.
Diane didn't?
No. She crashed head on at like 80 miles per hour.
Okay, are we gonna get an answer as to why?
Yes.
Okay. Like if you this does not have an answer. This is not an unsolved mystery, and I'm going to be very upset with you.
Well, I mean, some people don't believe the reasoning.
Oh my! I'm like getting sick to my stomach. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could do this.
Yeah, so Brian was like the only survivor. Actually, one of the girls was still alive when they arrived at the scene, so she was taken to the hospital where she died later. All the other children were dead on impact. And then Brian would have like severe brain injuries and some broken bones and stuff like that. So the Schuler and Hans families were both devastated and received an outpouring of love and support from friends and family in their community.
Yeah.
Warren Hans spoke so highly of his sister at the funeral. She was an amazing mom, an incredible aunt, and a wonderful wife, and a great sister. Daniel spoke of his wife as the perfect wife and mother. She was a saint.
What in the hell?
So what could have gone so wrong that day?
Yes, please.
The investigation of the collision drew nationwide attention. An autopsy was done, and a toxicology report released on August 4th by Westchester County medical examiners found that Schuler had a blood alcohol content of 0.19%, with approximately 6 grams of alcohol still in her stomach that had not been absorbed into her blood. As a reminder, for most states, and for New York at the time, the BAC driving limit for intoxication in New York was 0.08%. Diane's was 0.19%, almost over double the legal limit.
That's like blood out. What's blood alcohol? What blood poison? Fuck off.
Blood
Alcohol
poisoning.
poisoning.
I don't know.
Hold on. That's like
some reports say that she had an equivalent of about 10 shots of alcohol still in her stomach that had not been digested.
Okay, so because I didn't know. So 0.2 to 0.24 is you total mental confusion, dysphoria with nausea, vomiting, possible blackout. 0.25 is alcohol poisoning, just to let everybody. So she was getting
close.
There. She was fucking getting there. 0.4 is coma, by the way.
Jesus.
So don't ever do that. Okay.
So the report also said that Schuler had high levels of THC in her system. The
She was
active
high
ingredient
too?
in marijuana.
She had kids in that.
The infuriating part about this case is that even though we clearly know why this accident happened, Diane's husband to this day does not believe that.
Yeah.
He just, they're like, it had to be a medical emergency, and we'll get into it later. But his stories were never really consistent, because Daniel at first said that Diane never drank, then changed it to, oh, she rarely drank, and then changed it to, to a drink once or twice a month. He said that she didn't smoke marijuana, but friends of the family confirmed that Diane smoked almost every night because she had trouble sleeping. So she used it for like insomnia.
Yeah. Wow.
Daniel and his attorney believed that Schuler was driving erratically due to a sudden medical emergency such as a stroke. According to the attorney, Schuler was obese for much of her life and suffered from diabetes, although additional sources cite that Diane having experienced gestational diabetes, which only occurs when pregnant, rather than the chronic condition of diabetes.
Right.
The attorney also mentioned an abscess tooth that had persisted in Diane's mouth for several weeks prior to her death, which some family members did say, oh, she would like rub the side of her chin or whatever.
Yeah.
But the results of the autopsy on the day following the crash, conducted by a Westchester County medical examiner, found that Diane had not suffered a stroke, an aneurysm, or a heart attack. She was perfectly healthy. And even in the documentary, There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane on HBO Max, the family met.
Oh, I need to watch this. Okay, sorry.
It's going to infuriate you.
I'll watch it later then.
It's basically, it's the following the Danny and a family friend around, trying to convince everyone that it wasn't drugs and alcohol.
Oh, maybe not then.
Yeah. But the family, so Danny and whoever the lady is that he's always with, met with Dr. Warner Spitz, who we've talked about before. He's one of America's most respected medical examiners. I think I talked about him in the Casey Anthony
I think so.
case, right? So Dr. Spitz went over everything. And he said that the autopsy, because we know Dr. Spitz hates a bad autopsy. We know that, right? Dr. Spitz went over everything, and he said that the autopsy was done correctly and even well.
Oh, wow.
He agreed that the alcohol and marijuana were the likely contributors to the crash.
Oh, guys.
He also confirmed that she did not have a stroke or any other medical condition that caused the crash. Daniel's persistence in disputing his wife's intoxication and drug use was condemned by relatives of the 3 Trailblazer victims.
Obviously. They're going to want justice.
Yeah. According to the Westchester County Medical Examiner, the crash was ruled a homicide soon after it occurred because the victims were killed due to Diane's negligent driving and regardless of the toxicology findings. And then on August 18th, Winchester County District Attorney Janet DeFiore said that no charges would be filed in the incident because Schuler was the only one responsible for the deaths, and the charges basically died with her. Like, who else are they going to charge?
Or Westchester?
Westchester. Must be thinking of Supernatural and Dean Winchester.
Winchester. I was like, I don't know of a Winchester County.
There were a few lawsuits, though. On December 10th, the Bastardi family filed suit against Diane and her brother Warren, seeking unspecified damages for wanton, willful, and reckless conduct. According to the family's lawyers, they were required by state law to include Hans in the suit because he was the owner of the van. So they didn't necessarily want to sue him, but they kind of had to because it was his van.
It was his van. Okay. Ugh, that's tough.
In July 2011, Jackie Hance, the wife of Warren, who lost her 3 daughters in the crash, filed suit against Daniel, her brother-in-law.
Okay.
The suit claimed that the 3 deceased Hance girls suffered terror, fear, and impending death, extreme horror, fright, and mental anguish.
Imagine that. Oh my God. They must have been so scared.
On July 26, 2011, get this, the day after the premiere of the HBO documentary and on the 2nd anniversary of the crash, Daniel sued the state for not keeping the road safe and his brother-in-law, Warren, as the owner of the minivan that Diane was driving.
She was driving on the wrong side of the road.
Like, what a fucking idiot. Like,
how are you supposed to keep the road more safe? You were on the wrong side of the road.
Such a fucking joke.
What?
Like,
what?
Dude.
Oh my God.
But by July 2014, all lawsuits by all parties were either settled or dropped. I don't know which or which.
Okay.
Warren and Jackie started the Hance Family Foundation. I love this. To honor the lives of their daughters, Emma, Allison, and Katie, by ensuring healthy, happy, and safe children through innovative self-esteem educational programming. The foundation's central project is Beautiful Me, a self-esteem program designed to educate girls by promoting appreciation for their genuine qualities, accurate self-awareness, and the satisfaction of helping others. And that's so, like, awesome.
Yeah.
Also, in 2012, Jackie and Warren Hance welcomed a baby girl into their family.
Aww.
She was named Casey Rose.
God, can you imagine having 3 daughters and then having to start over?
Well, like,
never let them ride with anybody else.
I didn't write this down, but basically, for a long time, they didn't want to have any more children. But Jackie's friends kept pushing her and like go to the doctor, and because she had her tubes tied or whatever, so she had the procedure undone and she got pregnant almost right away. So they say that Casey brought like new life to the home.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So as conclusion, what happened that day?
Mm.
By all means, most people who knew Diane knew she wasn't a heavy drinker or alcoholic, and the autopsy would actually prove that to be correct. Also, due to no long-term existing damage to any of her organs. So, like,
Okay,
no,
that's true.
stuff like that. So then, why on a day with kids in her car would she choose to drink an excessive amount of alcohol? Whatever the reason, it doesn't matter, in my opinion, because regardless, she did make those decisions to drink and or smoke, and then she also decided to continue driving, and thus causing her to kill 8 people.
That's absolutely fucking insane.
So, I don't give a fuck. She was drinking, she was driving, and she caused 8 people to lose their lives that day. It's her fault. There's no mystery. Like, there's a mystery as to why she did it, but there's no mystery that she did it.
So, as we all know, Grey's Anatomy is fact-based. But there was an episode of Grey's Anatomy where there was some sort of disease or sickness that actually, like, created alcohol in the person's stomach.
Yeah. See, here's the thing.
Okay.
It's like sugar something. Like
yeah, sugar turns into alcohol.
It takes the carbs. All she had to drink that day was a little bit of orange juice from McDonald's. She actually didn't like eat anything or at McDonald's or anything. So, and if that was the case, how come it hadn't happened before? If her body had turned sugar or carbs into alcohol before, you know what I mean? Like, why would it happen this day and not any other history of it?
Well, that's the thing. Again, fact based, obviously. But in the episode, the person was there because they were drinking and driving, and they got in an accident, but they hadn't drank anything because they were sober. But everyone thought, oh, well, you're just an alcoholic, like you were drinking. And they were like, nah, fam, I didn't drink and drive. And then he got arrested because he was drinking and driving, and he was an alcoholic. But they brought him in like a couple days later because it had happened again, and they were like, he was in contained environment, he has no access to alcohol, kind of thing. So like, I think that's how it happened. Was it just started happening one day. I'm not giving her excuses. I mean, let's be real.
I also think I forgot one fact. There was a vodka bottle found in the van next to her.
Fuck her then.
On the driver's side of the vehicle.
Well, then fuck her then. She was drinking and driving. So, never mind. Me. I always try to find the best in people, but
I mean, also the fact that okay, if the body did like take these carbs and stuff, how does that explain the unabsorbed alcohol in her stomach? They say they had about 10 shots in her stomach that hadn't been absorbed yet.
Not only that, but like the marijuana too. There is no disease that does that. Like she was just high.
Yeah,
like, it was just high. So yeah, all right. Well, I tried.
So
I failed. So you just suck as a human. I can't believe you did that. That sucks. Yeah.
I mean, some people say that. Well, the family's trying to say that her pain in her tooth was so bad that's why she took. Yeah, but like again, why would you take so many?
And
shots,
don't get in the
like,
fucking car and drive kids.
Unless she had like a mental break.
Maybe.
That's like my only thought. She had a psychotic break and just like didn't realize she had children in the car still, and like I don't know.
Maybe. That's freaking wild.
And
that's your story?
My story.
Thanks for that.
What's wrong with Aunt Diane?
Oh, everything, actually. Okay. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. And it's kind of sad about I mean, I can understand the dad not being able to rationalize and wanting to continuously, not like the dad, the husband, but like rationalize and continuously try to make it be like, no, like it wasn't, but like also I think at some point you have to kind of accept the fact that this happened, and
yeah, because
all facts point to.
A family member was like, why can't he just accept the fact? Because every time he brings it up, it rips up new holes. We can't move on. Like he went on Oprah. He went on like Larry King Live. Like Danny was like doing any and every interview he could to like try and say that she wasn't a drinker, she wasn't this, she wasn't that. Well, that day she decided she was a drinker. So I don't know. It's weird. It's strange case.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I wasn't really big into true crime until like the last couple
Recently.
years. So yeah, that's crazy.
I like finding the stories where I can twist and turn you, and
I love it. I love them too. When you get me, you get me. So definitely got me this week. Anyway, you want to hear mine?
yes. What are you talking about?
Mine's more. You probably already know everything about it. So listeners, are you ready?
What?
I'm talking about H.H. Holmes and the Murder Hotel.
I've heard of H.H. Holmes, but I don't know details.
He is like the reason the serial killer name was created.
Oh, I didn't know
So-
that.
Oh, this is gonna be more fun then. Yay!
Is
Okay.
he the first serial
Buckle
killer?
up!
No.
Actually, I want to say he was
Let me-
like one of the first ones. So, if you were staying at World's Fair Hotel, more commonly known as the H.H. Holmes Hotel, you might run up a flight of stairs and found that it led to nowhere. You'd open up doors and see only solid brick. You'd enter a bedroom and suddenly smell gas seeping in. You'd try to run, only realizing now that you're locked in. Even if you could open up the door, you probably couldn't find your way out of the house. And before long, you'd meet your gruesome end. Or at least that's how the story of the H.H. Hotel goes. As one of America's first known serial killers, H.H. Holmes became infamous for not only his crimes, but also for his legendary murder hotel in Chicago.
Chicago. You dump them in the river or in the lake. Are they on the
So,
lake?
I
I think
so.
they're on the lake, on one of the Great Lakes.
I should know this. It's geography. Anyway. Sometimes called a murder castle or a murder mansion, this mysterious building was initially believed to be a normal hotel and just for a way of Holmes to make money during the 1993 Chicago's World Fair. But a police investigation later revealed something far more sinister.
Oh no.
While it remained unknown to how many people Holmes murdered in his Hotel of Horrors, he once boasted of killing at least 27 people.
Okay, but are we talking about like boasting, like Ted Bundy boasting, like I killed over 100 people, blah blah blah?
However,
okay.
some estimates claim the actual number may have been as low as 9
Okay.
or as high as 200.
Okay. That's a very large margin. That's sus. That's sus. Okay. That's suspicious. Anywho, continue.
That's suspicious. That's weird. H.H. Holmes first came to Chicago in 1886, leaving behind more than one previous life. Before Herman Webster Mudgett, previous scandals gave him a good reason to change his name. In college,
his name didn't give him a good reason to change his name.
Mudgett. Mudgett. I think Mudgett. I think that's how you'd say that. Yeah. Plus, H.H. Holmes just sounds like very fancy.
Sounds like a book. Like an
author or something.
of a book or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Like in college, when he worked in the anatomy lab and mutilated cadavers to defraud life insurance companies.
What do you mean? How do you defraud?
I think you'd
Life insurance.
claim that they were the people who they died, so then you collect life insurance money, but they're not dead yet. Is the idea that I got behind it.
Okay.
Or when he was the last person to have been seen with a missing boy in New York.
Oh dear.
Or when he worked as a pharmacist in Philadelphia and a customer died after taking the pills that he had given him. After all these incidents, Mudgett simply skipped town and eventually changed his name to Henry Howard Holmes. Soon after his arrival in the Windy City, Holmes got a job in a drugstore on 63rd Street, using his knowledge of medicine and charming personality to secure that position. Interesting. I do find it like so many serial killers have this charming personality.
Interesting.
Holmes was fashionable, bright, and likable. In fact, he was so likable that at one point in his life, he was married to 3 unknowing women at once.
What? He had sister wives without them knowing he had sister wives.
He had sister wives. I definitely thought. So for full disclosure, we after we record this, we go to edit and hang out for a little while, and we're currently watching Sister Wives. So it was really funny because I was like, oh, he married 3 women. They just didn't know each other existed. Also gave me Chicago. Have you ever seen Chicago, where they're talking about why they murdered their husbands and stuff, and they're innocent, but it's the Cell Block Tango. Very good song. But one of them is like, I didn't realize that he was married. Like, he was married to like 3 other women, and I'm like,
that's
anyway.
funny.
Wild.
Bad boy.
I just don't understand how that can happen. I mean,
how do you keep up with it? Like,
all right, I mean,
know?
I think this is something we both experienced in our lives, which again is crazy that we both had this shared trauma. But like, I'm pretty sure, right?
What?
Like, we both dated somebody who was currently in another relationship, but we were the other woman, and we didn't know we were the other woman. And like, that was 2 people. I can't imagine there being 2 more. Like, you know, there were signs for me, at least. I know that I wasn't the only one.
I had no clue.
Well, I didn't know at the time, but like looking back, I was like, oh, he'd only hang out with me during this allotted time, and he would never go out with me like during daylight and stuff like that. Like,
it was easy to have me because we were in the military and his girl was back home.
Oh, so
Chicago.
Okay.
Surprisingly,
oh, that's funny.
So,
that's funny. Full circle. But yeah, I can't imagine having 2 additional women. How you would juggle that. But anyway, in 1887, he bought an empty lot across the street from the store where he worked and began construction on a 3-story building, which he said would be used for apartments and shops.
How did he have the money to do that?
As a pharmacist? I think pharmacists made decent money.
He just made money.
I think so.
How do you just be a pharmacist without any degree or anything? Insane.
I mean, back in the day, I definitely think now you 100%
need actual paperwork.
Yeah, but you need a lot of paperwork. You need a doctorate to be a pharmacist. I think a pharmacist tech is like a bachelor, I think. Anyway. The structure was ugly and large, containing more than 100 rooms and stretching for an entire block. But Chicago was a city on the rise, and new construction was going up all over this part of the American Midwest. After all, Chicago was perfectly situated on the shores of Lake Michigan as a central hub for the expansive railroad networks that crisscrossed the nation, all extending like spokes in a wheel from the city. Little did residents know that the House of Horrors was about to emerge in that very same place. For his mansion, H.H. Holmes planned for the first floor to contain an entire block of storefronts that he would be able to rent out to the flood of new businesses opening up in the city. The 3rd floor would contain apartments for new residents looking to make it big in the Windy City. Eerily, some of those unsuspecting residents may have eventually become Holmes's victims. We'll get to that later. And those victims may have gotten to see the 2nd floor, one that was allegedly full of asphyxiation chambers, mazes, and hidden stairs.
Why would he
build it in the middle?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
The especially unlucky victims would make it down to the basement, which hid the elaborate horrors for which H.H. Holmes' house is now famous for. Throughout the building's construction, Holmes apparently switched builders and architects frequently so that no one involved was able to realize the gruesome end goal of all the odd parts that he was putting together. And the house was completed in 1892. By 1894, police would begin exploring the winding passages while Holmes sat behind bars. At first, authorities were confused by what they found. There were hinged walls and false partitions. Some rooms had 5 doors, while others had none. Secret airless chambers were found underneath floorboards, and iron plate-lined walls appeared to stifle all sound. So he had like soundproofed walls.
Wow.
As for Holmes' own apartment, There was a trap door in the bathroom, which opened to reveal a staircase that led to a windowless cubicle. In the cubicle, there were alleged large chutes that tunneled through to the basement. Spoiler alert, it was not used for laundry.
He literally had a personal body shoot. Oh, yeah.
One notable room was lined with gas fixtures. Here, Holmes would apparently seal his victims in, flip a switch in an adjacent room, and wait for the horror to unfold. And another chute was found nearby. So there was literally a gas chamber.
Jesus.
All the doors and some of the steps were connected to an intricate alarm system. Whenever someone stepped into the hall or headed downstairs, a buzzer sounded in Holmes' bedroom. So he had like rigged up all of the... Yeah, this is just wild.
Insane.
Now, full disclosure. Some of these descriptions have been met with some skepticism by historians, especially in the recent years, so it is worth keeping in mind that at least some of the designs may have been slightly exaggerated or possibly even invented by newspapers of that era. But I just want to put that in the back of your mind, but we're going to keep going in.
Okay.
But just like these are all old like stories from that era.
Right.
So the first clue about the bizarre floor plan's true purpose came to the police officers in a pile of bones. They found a pile of bones. Most of the bones were from animals. However, some were human remains.
Where did they say where they found these?
In the basement.
Who was in his basement without him knowing?
Okay. Well, the police who were investigating him were in the basement. And we'll get to that later.
Okay. Fine.
Listen, I'm doing it to you too. You opened up that door. I already wrote this, but I'm glad you did it so that I could do it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The bones were so small that they almost certainly belonged to a child.
Ew.
One who was no more than 6 or 7 years old.
Oh no. Oh.
When authorities descended into the cellar, the scope of the building's hidden horrors was finally revealed. Beside a blood-soaked operating table, they found women's clothing. Another surgical surface was nearby, along with a crematorium, an array of medical tools, a bizarre torture device, and shelves of disintegrating acids.
How the hell does he have a crematorium in a basement?
Because he built it.
Is there not smoke that comes out? Like,
I don't know. I guess there would have to be. But maybe they're like, oh, that's just me, like heating my house. I don't know. Like, maybe they just thought it was a normal fireplace. I don't know.
Okay.
It's also giving me a lot of, like, Sweeney Todd vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, they would, like, cook, like, burn the bodies and cook the bodies. And, like, you've seen that, right?
No.
Okay, well, spoiler alert. Basically, he's a barber and he kills people, and then the lady who owns the shop under him would cook meat pies, but she was really struggling because she couldn't afford meat. Well, they ended up basically cooking people, and so they would cook people and then burn off the dead bodies. And there was this one character in the movie who would like see the really dark black smoke and smell it. She was like, "That's death in the air. Like that's dead bodies. Like how is nobody else noticing this?" And,
right.
Like gives me this vibe.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there were a couple people that were like,
people
"That's
not notice."
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure burning bodies has a distinct smell.
Distinct smell, right? Okay. Holmes's fascination with dead bodies had apparently lasted long past college years, as had his surgical skills. After dropping his victims down the chutes, he reportedly dissected them, cleaned them, and then sold the organs and or skeletons to medical institutions or on the black market. Though the mansion didn't look inviting in the least, it's unlikely that any of his victims were dragged into its depths. They entered in their own volition, likely enchanted by the owner's flattery and apparent affluence. In some cases, they may have entered being his employees. During his 2 short years in the castle, Holmes hired more than 150 women to work as his stenographer. A few of them were known to be his mistresses as well. Holmes sometimes photographed his favorites. They were young, beautiful, and trusting of this gentleman in the big, unfamiliar city. As the city was on the rise, that was well connected thanks to its railway hub, Chicago undoubtedly had fresh flow of people coming in and out of Holmes's mansion. So one of Holmes's earliest victims was his mistress, Julia Smith. She was the wife of Ned Connor, who had moved into Holmes's building and began working as his pharmacy's jewelry counter.
Okay.
After Connor found out that Smith's affair with Holmes, he quit his job and moved away, leaving Smith and her daughter Pearl behind. Smith gained custody of Pearl and remained at the hotel, continuing her relationship with Holmes. Julia and Pearl disappeared on Christmas Eve, 1891, and Holmes later claimed that she had died during an abortion. Despite his medical background, Holmes was unlikely to be experienced in carrying out abortions, and mortality from such procedure was high at that time. Holmes
Wait,
claimed
he's
to
saying he did the abortion. Bold strategy, Cotton.
Holmes claimed to have poisoned Pearl, likely to hide the circumstances of her mother's death. A partial skeleton, possibly of a child around Pearl's age, was found when excavating Holmes's cellar. Pearl's father, Ned, was a key witness at Holmes's trial in Chicago. Emmeline Sagrand began working in the building May 1892 and disappeared that December. Rumors followed her disappearance claimed she had gotten pregnant by Holmes, possibly being another victim of another failed abortion that Holmes tried to cover up. Another young girl who had worked for Holmes in his building named Emily Van Tassel vanished as well. While working in a chemical bank building on Dearborn Street, Holmes met and became close friends with Benjamin Pitzel, a carpenter with a criminal past who was exhibiting in the same building a coal bin he had invented. Holmes used Pitzel as his right-hand man for several crime schemes, and a district attorney later described Pitzel as Holmes's tool and his creature.
It's creature. Ew.
His creature.
That's weird.
In early 1893, a one-time actress, Minnie Williams, moved to Chicago. Holmes claimed to have met her in an employment office, though there were rumors that he had met her in Boston years earlier. He offered her a job at the hotel as his personal stenographer, and she accepted. Holmes persuaded Williams to transfer the deed to her property in Fort Worth, Texas, to a man named Alexander Bond, who was an alias of Holmes. In 1893, Williams transferred the deed, with Holmes serving as the notary. Holmes then later signed the deed over to Pitzel, giving him the alias Benton Lee Lyman. The next month, Holmes and Williams presented themselves as husband and wife and rented an apartment in Chicago Lincoln Park. Minnie's sister Annie came to visit in July. She wrote to her aunt that she planned to accompany brother Harry to Europe. Neither Minnie nor Annie were seen alive after July 5th, 1893. Did you follow that?
Yeah.
That was a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So both Minnie and Annie both ended up dying, and now they own
The property.
in Fort Worth. Yeah.
Okay.
Although not proven, Holmes was suspected of killing 6 other people who vanished between 1891 and 1895. Dr. Russler, who had an office in the Castle, in the H.H. Holmes Hotel, went missing in 1892. Kitty Kelly, a stenographer for Holmes, also went missing in 1892. John G. Davis of Greenville, Pennsylvania, who went to visit in 1893, he vanished.
Jesus.
That was 1893. In 1920, his daughter asked that he finally be declared legally dead because they were never able to find any of his remains. Henry Walker of Greensburg, Indiana, who also went missing in 1893, was alleged to have insured his life to Holmes for $20,000 and wrote to his friends that he was working for Holmes in Chicago. Life insurance fraud? Milford Cole of Baltimore, Maryland, was alleged to have disappeared after receiving a telegram from Holmes to come to Chicago in July 1894. An otherwise unknown victim was Lucy Burbank, and the only reason they may link it to him is her bank book was found in the murder hotel in 1895 when they were looking.
Interesting.
They found her bank book, but there was like nothing else linking them. But yeah. Despite the well-connected women who went missing under his employment, suspicions of murder weren't what led Holmes to his demise. People come and go in the big city all the time, often without notice. But before the age of advancing technology, it was especially hard to trace them. So people went missing all the time, and you just didn't put things together. So the disappearance of a young woman working under Holmes could have always been excused as them simply moving on or heading back home. Ultimately, theft and poor planning financial schemes were what led to the arrest of Holmes in Boston, November 17th, 1894.
In Boston? How do you get to Boston?
After decades of criminal activity, the scale and complexity, which is just absolutely insane. I mean, we just went over all of the things in this hotel alone, and that's still not covering everything. The dude had a history. He had multiple aliases. Like, ugh.
Right.
So after decades of criminal activity, H.H. Holmes was finally behind bars. While in jail, connections between him and at least one murder were revealed, and the pile of financial charges were obscured by the more sinister accusations. When all said and done, Holmes was officially linked to 9 murders totaled, though he did boast about committing at least 27. He gave 3 different confessions while imprisoned, all with contradicting numbers. The true amount of victims is impossible to collaborate because the home was specially equipped for Holmes to disintegrate leftover body parts in acid baths or burn them in the human-sized oven. Gonna end it with one more horrifying fact. In one pile of ashes, investigators did find a small gold chain from a woman's shoe. So it is known that the stove was used to disintegrate ashes or bodies. So
Jesus.
yeah. So that's my story on the murder hotel.
Oh my god. That's insane.
It's a lot. But yeah. So he was the first serial killer. Like, he's the reason why they were like, we need a name for this because this is insane. Oh, let's call it a serial killer. Now, what's crazy to me is he was actually sentenced to hang for the murder of his associate and co-conspirator, Benjamin Pitzel. So that's actually what got him, was he murdered his creature. Isn't that crazy? So the night before his death, Holmes spent his time writing letters. He awoke at 6 a.m. the next morning. 2 priests from the Church of Annunciation spent the morning with the condemned man while he ate breakfast of eggs, dried toast, and coffee. At 10 a.m., the priest accompanied Holmes to the scaffold where the crowd stood in intense silence. The holy man finished a prayer. Holmes stepped forward to declare his innocence, which was also met with absolute silence. After one last prayer, Holmes shook his hands with the priest, bade his lawyers goodbye, and the paper said, this is a quote, without an instant delay, his hands were bound behind him, the black cap adjusted. The sheriff placed the noose around his neck, and after an instant, a terrible stillness, the crack of the bolt rang out like a pistol shot, and the man had fallen to his doom.
When did they execute him?
So the fair had ended. This is the whole reason he wanted to start this hotel, is because of the World's Fair. The fair ended in 1893. The con man left Chicago, still pulling scams with his associate Pitzel. The two hatched a plan to pull off a life insurance scam with Pitzel faking his own death and then splitting the $10,000 policy, until Holmes then decided to turn on him and killed Pitzel in Philadelphia for real.
Wow.
For realsy.
For real.
His execution was May 7th, 1896 in Philadelphia.
Wow. So did he just like leave his murder house, like just to sit there?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
sell it or
all
anything?
It was all scammy, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to go too much into HH because it's the whole thing of like giving the serial killer like the problem. Like, I wanted to really kind of focus on the house anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the story of the H.H. Holmes Hotel / Castle / Mansion / Home
/ Murder Palace.
That's it for this episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to follow us. Leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Hi. Like and subscribe. Do it. Leave a comment. Did you like what we talked about today? Let us know.
You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok with our username at TTATA Podcast. And in the bio of all of our social media is our link tree that has our email on it. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, let us know.
I want to get to a point where we can do like listener stories too. So you guys have stories and we could do like a listener story like episode a month or something. Just start sending us stories. We'll start compiling them. That'd be cool. I'd like to have like at least, I don't know, 5 or 6 stories and then we can read them. And it'd be fun. So do it. Thanks for listening, guys. Next week we're covering cults.
Cults is correct.
Cults. But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. With that, we're going to leave you with this inspirational quote.
The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. By Michael Altschuler. One of those is right ish.
Yeah. It's Tom.
What?
What?
Michael. Where did you get Tom? Who's Tom?
Oh no. I don't know who Tom is. I don't know.
Anywho.
Y'all have a great week.
Yeah. Hopefully it's better than ours.
If you're struggling with anything, you're not alone. There's resources out there. Therapy's amazing. Yeah. Keep on keeping on. You guys got it. We got it.
You got this.
So does Tom.
You got this, Tom.
Yep, Tom, you got this. If you're listening, you got it. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.